Hey, this is Scott Snyder, and you're watching the Sci-Fi Center.
Welcome to the Sci-Fi Center, the place to be, where comic books and wrestling collide magically. Movies, TV shows, and pop culture we share. Get ready to rock, we're here to take you there. From superheroes to aliens in outer space, we've got the latest news and reviews in our embrace. Turn on your screen, let the neon lights glow. We'll take you back to the 80s. Let's rock and roll. Sci-Fi Center, where the legends come alive. Get ready to geek out, let your imagination fly. We're diving into the past with a touch of modern flair. Sci-Fi Center, the ultimate pop culture lair.
Let's try this for a second week and see if you can hear me. I actually know you can because I did a test. And StreamYard came into the program last week after we had those issues, and they ran some type of program to fix a lot of the issues that we're having. Apparently, I wasn't the only one having them. A lot of people were having them, so they were very aware of the issues. Anybody who currently has StreamYard right now, and if you're having any issues with StreamYard, do yourself a huge favor and let them know. I was compensated for the problems we've been having that culminated in last week's stream. They took care of me. So unlike UPS, fuck UPS if you're watching, they took care of their customer. So hey, so tonight, sorry I'm late. I was supposed to start this stream at 9:30. I had customers in the store. I still have them in the store. You can't see them, but they are here. This is every year if you guys have been following the show, especially in the summertime when it's 108, 109, whatever outside. These people just don't come out, especially the tourists. Tourists are not going to come out. They have everything they need in their hotel rooms or wherever they're staying. They come out when the flamethrower in the sky goes down. So this is the way it's going to be probably till fall. We'll just have people coming in and out. I still got some people on their way in because they know my hours and it's hot. So this is going to be a really streamlined, really quick show. We're going to hit our topics and get to them as soon as possible. And with that, I usually just go ahead and delay bringing Brad in, but I'm going to go ahead and bring him in now. And there you go. I guess there's a power outage there, but hey, what's going on?
No, that's my death lamp.
Okay. So topics this week are going to be, we're going to cover a little bit more spoiler into Absolute Batman 21. The rest of it, as far as Two-Face goes, to me was non-consequential. I mean, the biggest part of this issue, and we'll go over it, is the face-to-face meeting between Bruce Wayne and Absolute Joker. The rest of the book is good. Don't get me wrong, but it's the only thing, the most important thing in that book is their confrontation and kind of where it takes place, and I'll show you that. Couple other things we're going to cover. Ironically, it's a connecting topic. I'm going to cover the Nocenti run. I talk about it often. It's the next era that came after the Frank Miller run of Daredevil, Nocenti and John Romita Jr. And then I'm going to connect it to a topic that's kind of annoying me today. Listen, if you don't like an artist, that's preference. That's what art is. But the disrespect I'm seeing laid towards John Romita Jr. is making me physically ill. Same thing when it comes to Frank Miller. Frank Miller, has done some covers and people are trashing him. And some of the covers he's done, I've had no issue with, but I've seen people talk, and tag and speak of Frank Miller as if he's not the legend that Frank Miller is. I have people that have a problem with this cover. Oh, this sucks. He's getting old. I'm like, I'm sorry, but I've been collecting Frank Miller comics since I was 12. As far as I'm concerned, the work he's doing now, there's some blocky stuff. I saw a Wolverine one that was kind of blocky, but nothing out of the norm. Is everything going to be his best art? But some of the stuff I'm seeing hurled, and then this week, apparently John Romita Jr. had a cover for the 1000th issue of Spider-Man that's due out, and because people were whining and complaining, apparently they pulled it. I mean, this is John Romita Jr. John Romita Jr. has had some runs, some legendary runs on almost every major Marvel title. We're going to discuss his run when it comes to Daredevil, 1986 1988. One of the better runs, and considering who they were following up, and to bring the book to a different level, his X-Men run is legendary. It was him who was at the helm during the Mutant Massacre. And this was before, this is after John Byrne. This is after, if you look at when X-Men run really started to take off, there was only a handful of people that were even allowed to work on that book. It wasn't until like Jim Lee, it was Jim Lee, and then it was Mark Silvestri. Mark Silvestri had like a 6-year run. Jim Lee would have had a longer run, but he left for Image. But you have a handful of people in that book that made that book, and his run in the mid 80s was one of those. And the cover that they're talking about is one I want. I'm looking at this cover that they're talking about. And in fact, you know what? Let's go ahead and bring that up right now. We'll get that topic out of the way. I know I'm going to be going out of order, but I don't care. So let me get this. Here we go. StreamYard, knock on wood, has actually been quite effective today. As soon as I say that, it'll start fucking up. But this is the cover. Now, it's a cover that's penciled by Romita, and then it's inked by someone else or colored by someone else. But I've heard all kinds of nonsense about this cover. Just because you're a legend doesn't give you a license to do bad work. I'm like, I like this cover. When this cover hits my shelf, I will be pulling one of these for myself. That's a Spider-Man pose. They were saying the pose was bad, the art was bad. And then I'm like, what? This is John Romita's work has been consistent for like 40 fucking years. I have covers that are, it's I've always respected his style because it's just like Frank Miller. His style is a basic, bare bones. I want to give you the grittiness of the atmosphere that I'm trying to portray. There's a lot of artists out there that are glossy, they're fancy, their lines are all pretty, and that's great. That's great. There's one, Mike Deodato Jr., one of my favorite artists of all time. Is exotic. That's his style. That style of art fits the stories that he's telling. Everywhere John Romita's been, his artwork fits wherever that book is going. When he was covering the Mutant Massacre, I couldn't have thought of a better artist that I wanted covering mass killings in the Morlock tunnels. Daredevil, fresh off of the run, 2 runs that Frank Miller did. Frank Miller put Daredevil in a neighborhood and in an atmosphere that you had to have a guy like John Romita doing it. You couldn't have had other people. Other people would have been, maybe they would have been better artists, sure, but would they have been a better fit for the book? And that's one of the things that when I talk to customers, either online or in person, they rank their artists in these tiers, and which is fine. Like, my favorite artist of all time is Todd McFarlane. But is Todd McFarlane right for every book? Is he right for every tone? Is he right for every story? That's why when they hire these guys, it's not necessarily the most glossiest artist that you can get. It's generally somebody who is going to fit the tone of the book. Walt Simonson, when he took over Thor, his art style fit what they were doing with Thor at the time. And Spider-Man. John Romita Jr. has had several runs on Spider-Man, and each time he did it, it fit what they were doing. And same thing with Frank Miller. Here's another one. Now, the most important thing that a cover does to you is it is your doorway into the story. It's like a trailer. It gives you the premise. There's some heavy shit going on between him and Kingpin. There always is, but this sets the tone for when you open this book. This is the level that the rest of the story is. And John Romita and Frank Miller have always been able to do that. And I don't understand. I'm reading some of these comments. Let's, when you bring up some of these comments, I mean, it's like, you don't like it, I understand. Nobody can force anybody to like anything. I got people, mocking him, putting him on the cover of Mad Magazine. That's disrespectful, man. Let me see. There's some of the stuff in there. Dude, some of this thread actually wasn't as bad, but some of the people, were just outright insulting this cover. I like this cover. It's not a pose you always see of Spider-Man using, but it's a Spider-Man pose. He's shooting webs. He's looking to go into in his stride, his swing. And guess what? They're making 25 covers. If you don't like John Romita's, guess what? Don't buy it. And Marvel, what the hell? More than anybody else, John Romita's style, John Romita's artwork. He's been a workhorse for you for nearly 4 decades. Second generation artist under your company. Has won awards, has been renowned, has sold a lot of comics. You let some fanboy whining have you pull a cover of an artist who's done about as, other than Todd McFarlane, has had as successful a run as anybody on Spider-Man. I mean, he's up there with the Eric Larsons. He's up there, with the Mark Bagleys. He's up there with all those guys. He's John Romita Jr. I just don't understand what made you pull that. And I hope you if you're watching this stream, like and subscribe, like I always say. But if you're watching this stream or any other stream, that's the wrong decision. You took away an option for a guy like me who's a fan of that man's work just because somebody else whines. And that's the problem. And I guarantee you the majority of the whining was on the internet. The internet is not the world. Loud ass people on the internet are not everyone. You didn't ask me. I've been buying and collecting and selling comics more than a lot of these pricks have been alive. You didn't ask me. I'm pretty sure you didn't ask people who, it's not like when he's on a book, it stops selling. So, Marvel, what are you doing? Do you not know your product and your customer well enough to know that there's a lot of people who like John Romita? There's a lot of people in DC, people have been whining about Frank Miller's later covers, and he's lost it, and he's getting old and all that. And I'm like, yeah, some of his stuff, but majority of it is fine. I like this cover. There are people who complain about this one and says, oh, you can tell, man, it sucks to get old and all this. I'm like, what? I love this cover. But see, DC editorial, modern Frank Miller is getting as much whining as John Romita is for this cover. They're not pulling those covers. He's got 4 or 5 of these more of these coming out. I would pay good money to get these type of covers signed. This cover that you're looking at, dude, if I get my hands on that and John Romita's at Comic-Con again, I'm going to have him sign that cover. I like that cover. But I don't know if it's because the current state of Marvel isn't the best that they're so afraid of losing the extremists. But that I saw that, and that was disheartening. Not only was the Marvel's decision pissed me off, it's just the people who are like, how can Marvel even produce? Dude, I can walk around here and grab some really shitty covers that people think are great. I got walls full of stuff that I'm like, wow, they put staples on this and sent it out. But you know what? Somebody comes up and they love it. And when you have 25 variant covers, So you don't buy a 25th. Most of these jackasses are not going to buy all 25 of these covers. They're going to buy the ones that look good for them, the ratios, the variants, and they're going to go on about their day. So you can't let a geek like me, an old school Gen Xer who loves John Romita Jr. stuff, have this cover. You're going to pull this cover. I wish the guys who ran these companies, and this is not a new thing. This is not just with this. I always say this. If you are going to be in the corner office, if your name is on the door, if you got a secretary, you got a company car, you got an expense account, if you're the boss, you can't be a pussy. You are either the person making the decisions or you're the fucking lackey. But this indecisiveness, I don't know if they're going to like this non-sure-footedness garbage when some of these corporations do that, and it's usually the ones that are suffering. When DC did it, they were suffering. And Marvel, look what Marvel's doing. I mean, Marvel's getting a little bit better, but they're going through a streak right now. It's not the best. And when you're struggling, sometimes you listen to the wrong people. And I heard somebody say, well, they're listening to their customer. They didn't ask me. I'm their customer too. Listening to the loud customer is not listening to the customer. That's just listening, like I said, the cut up in the class that makes the fart sounds is always going to get the attention while everybody else in the class is trying to learn. And that's what the internet is. The internet is literally the class clown making a bunch of noise while everybody else is just trying to get through the day. So I'm really disappointed. I hope Marvel, I hope the people, listen, I'm used to people, if you like something, you just consume it and you move on. You don't have to even make a sound. You made it sound with your wallet. But we're not even getting the chance to make that sound with our wallet. We're not even getting an opportunity to get this book. So here I'm saying, if you like John Romita's work, if you think this cover is fun and something you like to have, let Marvel know. Because the other people definitely have. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that. Like I saw that and I was like, wow, because like I said, big fan of John Romita Jr. His artwork fits the stories he's been assigned to tell. And that's really all you want. That's really all you need. All right. Hid me from the stage. That was actually me this time. That wasn't StreamYard. All right. Don't know where the hell Brad went. But hey. Okay. So let's say, by the way, here we go. I have different slots available now, and I'm going to illustrate this tomorrow for tomorrow night's stream. I have 4 of these left. Well, actually, no, I have 3. One of them's already been purchased. So I'm going to do a $250 donation slot, and you get 2.5 hours on a show that precedes the Saturday Overnight Live show. So before we do the one we're doing right now, you will get the 2 hours leading up to that. Then we'll go into a different show. Might even hold you over. One person has already grabbed one of those, and we will be having that person get their show together, and they will get a good 2 hours. If you want to do a watch along, you can. If you want to bring on guests, you can. If you got a topic you need help with me getting up, this is also William can go to Comic-Con in style, because you don't want your favorite geek drinking out of puddles, for water. You don't want me hanging out at 7-Eleven and getting me thrown away hot dogs. You want me to get the actual nice ones down by the coast there, and equipment stuff. You want me to look and sound great. I want to look and sound great. And so yeah, this will be if you click on the link for that particular one, you can donate and other things. We'll do watch parties and we do other things, but those are the things that I can give you. I figure make you part of the show for that. And I have 3 spots left. I opened up with 4. One of them is gone, so we got 3. And because of the time, we have we're literally closing in on a month of Comic-Con, so three of those are left. One of them is gone. And if that's what you would like to do, now we want you to make that, once you tip that in, then we discuss what you're going to do. Obviously, like I said before, with anything we do on the show, it has to be suitable. It can't be something that gets us kicked off the internet, because that would be pointless. I can't broadcast from San Diego if I don't have a show, because we did some crazy shit. And then there's lesser ones. If you want an hour, then 100. So, right around that time frame. So I am giving you something for your value. So, all right, before I jump into the next topic, I have neglected my Adoring Public. William, what are my thoughts on Marvel announcement of Marvel? Well, we covered this a couple weeks ago. And the first character, Spider-Man, X-Men, and Bent at the board. You must have missed that show a couple of weeks ago, Anthony. Yeah, I covered it. I didn't like the fact that it replaced the Ultimate line, because I thought the Ultimate line was established and it was doing well and people were buying it. And now I'm pretty sure this. I'm going to go ahead and hope that this does well. But I was already at a certain level with Marvel, with Ultimate, the Ultimate Universe, that I really would have rather stayed there, especially as a retailer. I don't truly believe that it's the answer to the Absolute Universe. Everybody automatically says, well, because Absolute Universe is doing a dark tone. No, because if you look at this what they're doing, it's the heroes that are the assholes here. X-Men are vampires. The Fantastic Four are here to screw up the world, to not save it. So you're flipping things completely. Whereas the Ultimate or in the Absolute Universe, our heroes are still have their core values, because Darkseid was not able to completely control the universe. Had he been in complete control of the Absolute Universe, they would have just been slaves to him. But that was part of the caveats to it. So it looks good. It looks good. The artwork I've seen looks good. I just don't know. I would have rather Hickman and them just stayed on the Ultimate Universe, because it is a proven winner. And I thought after they got rid of it in 2015 that they would, if they ever got a chance to do it again, they would never make that mistake again. They've made that mistake again. So here we go. But yeah, I covered that. Anthony, if you look a couple of shows back, if you go to the show that has that on the cover, Storm, the Vampire Storm on the cover, and that's where we covered that in detail. How you doing, Bear? What's going on? Yeah, this is me telling you guys half hour ago I had people, and still have people in the store. Is this Omega Swiper under a different name? But yeah, sure, you can visit the store. I love for my viewers to visit the store. Here's the Duckman. We'll talk about this towards the end of the show. One of the things we're going to cover is what are our final expectations for Supergirl on all levels. I'm just looking to go have fun with the movie. I see the same cesspool activity going into Supergirl as I saw back in 2016 and 2013, and it's not fun. I've been doing my best to avoid those people. I don't get a bonus prize or a door prize or a check for rooting for a movie to fail. If it's a movie I don't want to see, I just don't go. It's that easy. If it's a movie I don't want to see, I just don't go. I don't need to root for a movie to fail. So that's a lot of that's going on with Supergirl. So we'll discuss that. Not just on what it'll be box office, what it's going to do narratively. Is it going to be, do you think that they've nailed the content based on what you've seen? And I've read that book over and over again, and it's one of my favorite modern stories. It is my favorite Superman story, or Superwoman story. So Supergirl, I'm sorry. They never call them women. Let's see. Yeah, I did a test. I did a test. I actually had it on the TV here before I muted it, just to make sure, because that was a lot of hot air I wasted last week, and then just to find out that I wasn't on 120, not in the shade. Yeah, it's hot. It's hot. And then we got about an hour of rain coming on Wednesday. That'll probably evaporate before it hits ground. Let's see. Can't wait for the Legion of Superheroes. Yeah, Legion of Superheroes. We're going to cover that as we get closer. The same people who are working on Absolute Wonder Woman are now going to be working on Legion of Superheroes. I love Legion of Superheroes, and from the premise and the previews that I've heard about it, it looks like they are going Giffen style, late 80s. So his head looks Lego. But you know what? That's John Romita, though. That's John Romita. I have not seen it. I have not seen his responses, Aaron. She's asking John Romita Jr. I don't know, man. I mean, and it breaks my heart that, listen, he has fans. He has people that love his work. And, everybody has detractors. But, I mean, you're going to waste your time on your day. You wasted that much. In Marvel, why are you listening to these people? I would suggest John Romita Jr. go to DC. I think a lot. I think he would be great on Batman. I think he's done Batman.
Yeah, hasn't he?
I think he's done. He's primarily been Marvel, but he's been all over the world.
He's most associated with Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spider-Man in Daredevil. Spider-Man. Because his father was, John Romita Sr. was like a second generational thing. So, and his father was great.
The last customer is usually the Karens and Kyles. I never heard that one before. I've heard Karens, but Kyle, is that the male equivalent to a complaining customer?
All right, that will be interesting to see William survive what. I can give you a list of shelters you can stay at during. Yeah, surviving without it. And you know what? Like I said, it's still San Diego, but you don't want me doing all that. Let's see. All right.
How
So
many times have you
we're
been
gonna.
to San Diego Comic Con, like all told?
What's up?
How many times, like including the one coming up, like how many, like what number of times will this mark this year for like times you've been to San
This
Diego Comic Con?
will be my 16th.
Ooh, yeah. I ain't been once.
16th.
I ain't been to San Diego.
Yeah, it's a beautiful city. Shitty baseball team. Sorry, Padres. Yeah, it's beautiful.
My closest is Tampa Con, which I mean, to be fair, that was a big one. That was, I mean, that year I think the turnout was 50,000, and it was really it was fun about it. As my friend Mike and I, we went down. That was right after we finished up college, and we stayed at the it's held in the Tampa Convention Center, and we stayed at the Hilton. Right there. So the joke I told is that I guess I can't make fun of Paris anymore, but we stayed at the Hilton. It was literally like a block away. You could walk there in about 5 or 10 minutes, and it was a lot of fun. It was, again, big time turnouts. San Diego, again, still the biggest by far. I think that gets like north of 150,000 every year.
Yeah, it's fire marshal. It's hilarious.
Yeah, so 50,000 in Tampa, which again still pretty enormous. But that was one of the best weekends of my life. I had got San Diego.
Yeah, San Diego is by far the largest, and you have New York, and then you have LA, and you got a couple.
How close is New York in terms of like size and turnout? That's probably like the closest second is New York Comic Con, right?
That's about 80, maybe 80,000, 70, 80,000. San Diego is going to be twice as big. It's got but New York is big because it's in the largest market. It's the largest city.
They actually just I think this is a new thing. Actually, they just started and maybe it kind of correlates to it a little bit. I mean, if you're Hong Kong,
your sound is breaking up.
Okay, let me mute real quick. I think they just started one in Hong Kong. Like Hong Kong finally has a Comic Con. So
yeah, it's hard to build up Hong Kong's because of the regime that cover there. There's a cultural situation that goes on there, but New York is big because it's New York, and a lot of the
maybe
talent.
That's eroding now.
Not in China, no. New York is where a lot of the corporate studios, a lot of the corporate ownership, and a lot of some of the, like DC. A lot of the people in DC are located in like Scott Snyder is located in New York, Neil Tragotta is located in New York. So most of the big ones are located there, but it hasn't gotten big as Comic Con yet. Why people are all of a sudden getting upset if Christopher Nolan has a black actress in the Odyssey? Listen,
and who is this specifically? Well, like who's? Because I think I'm vaguely.
There's just a lot of people.
Who's the black actor?
I don't even like to bring it up.
Is she Helen of Troy or what is it?
I forgot who she played. I haven't paid attention to that movie.
Again, it's like as William says, like everybody is in the Odyssey. So,
I be honest with you, I don't really want to get into the minds of these people. To be honest with you,
she's Helen of Troy. She's two roles. She's Helen of Troy and Clytemnestra. These are two characters.
I mean, I'm not the biggest Nolan fan, but it's his movie, it's his story, it's his vision. If that's who he wants to put in it, he's not putting a bad act. He's putting an Academy Award winner in a role. I'm not the biggest Greek mythology person beyond the stuff I watch, but I don't. We're talking about ancient times. You're talking about the Mediterranean. You're talking about an area where there's a lot of dark folks. I don't. I mean, I don't associate with anybody that has an issue with it, Anthony. So I can't give you a complete answer. I'm assuming there's a lot of people that had a problem with with Cleopatra being played by somebody fair skinned. But if you do the history of Cleopatra, you'll know why. There's a history there. I don't know as much about the history of Helen of Troy. I know I learned about it in school, but I moved on, so I don't know. I don't know, and I don't. Sorry, I don't care enough about the Odyssey. I'm gonna go see it because it's got everybody in it. But as far as like the history of Troy and all that stuff, I would have to do some research and figure out his justification if he even needs it. Is the only justification that he needs? To be honest with you, is he's the director, he's the producer, he's the writer, he's the one who's doing the story. And as consumers, if anybody has a problem with that, like I always say, move on to something else that doesn't make you mad. All right. Kenneth Carell. Ooh, wow, long time no see. How are we feeling into Supergirl Week? I guess we'll go ahead and knock that topic out since we're going to streamline the show. I think it's going to struggle. I'm not going to say bomb because I don't like trying to. I don't have the qualifications to dictate a bomb because I don't know the actual true budget. I don't know how much they're getting as far as merchandise placement, how much KFC is paying them, how much AMC, how much Regal is paying them for the licensing and all that. For all I know, their production costs could be completely covered by all of that. Who knows? I don't know. But as far as pulling a certain number, I think that even if it's a quality, even if it's a good movie from everything I've seen so far, the little that we've seen, it looks like it's consistently, covering a story that I really regard really highly. I think it has a lot of things going against it. It's a derivative character. We are, when it comes to the DCU, the output that we have hasn't been, in my opinion, is as far as like the frequency has not been good. I think it's taken us too long to get to this spot where we're at. And now the only A-lister that we've put on the screen has been Superman, and that's only a year ago. So we're using that momentum from the A-lister to go to a B or C lister. And then from there, the next thing we have after that is Clayface, which is a Z-lister.
When he's a villain,
big names
without his associated hero.
Yeah, I mean, so people who are in really small corners of the zeitgeist like to say, "Well, I want something different. I'm tired of Batman all the time, and it's good that he's going with so and so." No, that's great until you involve math. And when math gets involved, then that's why you see, it's not by accident why Batman has more movies than anybody else because he sells.
Well, and you guys were talking a bit about this stream last night, and like you said something about at some point they need to the rubber needs to hit the road as far as like prioritizing like the marquee characters like the Trinity, like the Justice League.
But should have started out that way.
Well, and
should have started out.
I mean, I'll be fair on like as far as Supergirl. I mean, like she did cameo in the first movie, so it's not like people are going to this like it was a cameo, but it was. I mean, it's this isn't Zatanna. People aren't going in like 90% of people don't.
But it's not Superman.
Yeah, but they have laid some kind of setup for it. And yeah, I agree.
Oh no, I'm not saying they didn't. It's just you can set it up, but does the customer care? It's not that they don't know who Supergirl is. It's just they know that it's a derivative character.
They know who Superman is, but or they know who Supergirl is, but again, Superman. There's a reason. I mean, when people say there is the Christian cross is like the only symbol more recognized in the entire world than the Superman S shield. There's a reason for that.
All right, so I think there's an issue here and I understand what he said. It's like, I'm not going to do it by the title. I'm going to do it if the script is good. I listen. I respect James Gunn, but I disagree with that because the script that's the ready first may not be something that pulls in the momentum that you need. What I would rather he did is go back to the big name script and get that script ready and improve it to the point where it's better than anything else you have. Because I think that this movie is going to struggle because it's a derivative character. It is a non-traditional take on that character, on that derivative character. This story that they're adapting is the most unique Supergirl story that they've ever told. That's why it's one of my favorite. I don't know if that is going. I don't know if it's going to make the connection that another type of movie would make. So I think there's some things going now. That being said, it depending on what they spent, how much they licensed, it may only need to make $300 or $400 million to get to where they needed to go. So,
And
but I
there's
do
some-
think it's going to. I don't think it's going to do buku numbers, but I think it'll do decent.
Here, there's something I just thought of. And this would play into again what I said about they cameoed her at the end of Superman. And do you think now this is also? I mean, it's fair to say like the announced Supergirl, and when the slate was first announced, Supergirl was further down the slate than it ended up being release wise. It was like number like 5 or 6 on the slate, and now it's movie number 2. And then in the midst of that, we've gotten some stuff that wasn't announced with that, like Peacemaker and Clayface. So but one thing I just kind of thought of is that what if this had come if like Superman came out first last year and Supergirl came out in the same year, like what if they both like if you had Superman release basically where it did last year and they had Supergirl out like around Christmas, if they had it like if they had them like that kind of like close proximity, do you think that would have aided Supergirl at all?
No, because it's still Supergirl. It's still a second tier character, and you've had 70-something years to build that status as a non A-list character, and she hasn't been on in the time of her existence. She hasn't been on any major platform, and I'm sorry, we're not counting the CW. I'm talking about box office level. You have Helen Slater, and that's it. An entire time she's been on.
She was in The Flash, so she has been in a movie, in recent memory.
Who?
Supergirl. She was in The Flash, so she hasn't had her own movie, but she has been on cinema screens and in pretty recent memory.
Yeah, so you're talking about a derivative character. That's a derivative character in the movie that you saw her in for a total of 12 minutes. So that's not the fact that especially when it comes to DC, and they really, I was hoping that they would figure this out after the Hamada regime and all those other things when they tried to go for these, after they had poisoned all the characters to the point where they couldn't touch them anymore, so they went with other characters. You saw the math. You started, and the same thing with Marvel. It's the same thing with Marvel. When they know you have the A-listers in the toolbox, that's what your audience wants to see. And when you go long stretches, see, Marvel is in a better position because they had built a credibility. You're starting a new universe. I really wish he would have started with the heavy hitters. I think that would have bought more time. I think we would have been a lot further along in the perception of the DCU had that had happened. Listen, he didn't want to do it that way, and that's his right. But I think it's going to have to happen eventually because you only have so much capital to burn with Z-listers.
Well, also, we're getting. The news. This is where I don't know if they're making that priority. The way you're suggesting, because the latest news we're getting as far as like projects coming up is like, hey, we got a Jimmy Olsen Gorilla Garage show, and that's the next thing we're filming, and it's like.
And I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with that. But at least they're not putting that. At least they're not making that their next movie. You're doing a TV show because let's be honest, guys. These TV shows have a fraction of the audience that the box office does. Even ones that I like. Even ones that I like and love. I might love Lanterns, but I'm going to be realistic with myself that the amount of people watching a TV show versus the ones that are actually going out to the movie theater is into that event is going to be eclipsed by those people. So Jimmy Olsen, if you were telling me that there was a Jimmy Olsen film coming out, I'd be like, okay, we gotta adjust this. You're telling me there's a Jimmy Olsen because there's a lot of people who it's in Marvel as well who only watch the movies and don't even regard the shows, and they're set up to the point where you don't have to. Jimmy Olsen is such a character that I could probably skip his show and not miss anything that's going on in the mainline box office universe. That's the way they set those shows up. So yeah, if you were telling me Jimmy, but I also have Clayface, and then what's next after Clayface? And now we start getting into that more territory.
Man Tomorrow is the next thing after Clayface. I think it's
okay.
It's definitely not a movie after Clayface.
And that is what 2027.
Yeah, that's next July's Man Tomorrow.
When did the DCU begin?
July. Well, if you're going by like Creature Commandos, then started December 24. But cinematically, last July, so almost about a year now.
So in 3 years since its announcement, we've had one movie, we got another one coming out, and we got one A-lister, and it's twice. It's going to be 2 times that same A-lister. And in between, we have a derivative character, and then we have Clayface, which I think is going to be fine. It's going to be fine. It's going to make it because it doesn't.
It could be Joker fine, but it's going to be fine.
But there's a different conversation being had to whether it's going to be fine and be profitable, and does it push the momentum and increase the profile of your universe? Because if a bunch of horror fans come and see it, great, that's good. It's going to be profitable. But does it increase in the profile of the overall thing that you're doing, and then to give it that push to the point where like, okay, we're rolling now? I just don't feel like we're rolling with the DCU. I just don't feel like there's that push. You know what I mean? It just feels like everything that comes out is too far in between. And then every box office opportunity is, to me, is where you use your big guns. And Supergirl's not a big gun.
That's also where I think the question of, I mean, there's still some ambiguity, with Adria Arjona's romance tomorrow, where it's like whether there's still a lot of debate and back and forth whether she's Maxima or Wonder Woman in it. And now she's Wonder Woman. Of course, I think that most people would say, okay, that kind of presupposes, okay, put her in this, and then that as a backdoor pilot for her for like Paradise Lost and like a Wonder Woman movie. But I think
what are we getting at?
But
what are we getting at?
Where are we getting Paradise Lost? I could tell you.
Yeah. Therein lies my issue. I think James Gunn is talented. I think he can pull this off. But what I'm starting to worry about is that the frequency and the volume right now isn't there, and your resume is going to be things that don't have that punch, and that how much of that feed into the decision making for what we get in the future. See what I mean?
He also kind of, I think you guys asked it before, but I think you said if you had to call it now, you're expecting that she's Maxima in it. Like Adria Arjona is Maxima, you think? And
no, I don't know. I don't know. She's built to be either or.
Well, yeah, but that, because I know everybody's like citing like the social media like workout photos, but that's
just like the people about Jean Grey. I'm not, yeah.
Well, but that's like, I mean, everybody has to get in shape for when they're taking on a DC or a Marvel character. So that in itself, I don't think necessarily argues for either character.
But I don't know who she's playing. Even if it's Wonder Woman, let's say it's Wonder Woman. When am I getting this? We're 3 years into this now, and your audience, like the type of audience that goes to see these movies, their mind is conditioned by both DC and Marvel. I know he's doing something different, but I think there's certain things that have to be done the same in order to captivate that audience and give yourself an opportunity to make your case with these other things. It's great that Clayface is great. That's wonderful. But does that serve your overall cause as far as growing this universe and creating that chain reaction? You know what I mean?
Well, and I was talking to somebody else about this the other day, and I don't know if you've gotten the sense of this yet, but I mean, and I pose this as kind of a non-rhetorical question, but when was the last time we've heard any of this, as far as like saying, here's what we're doing with DC2, when was the last time you've heard any of this kind of packaged or described or presented as Gods and Monsters? It seems to have kind of quietly shifted into the Superman saga. As far as like,
and I have a feeling that until we know where all this is going to land corporate wise, it's really hard to cast your line out that far when you don't know if you're going to have water to cast your line into, because some of the things that need to happen need to be long-term momentum as well as short-term momentum. And with this company being where it is, as far as the whole Paramount, the whole merger, how do you do that? How do you orchestrate that, that pathway when you don't know if you're going to have, ground under your feet at a certain given time? So people like to undermine that. They like to say, well, no, they're going to keep the same people. And I'm like, literally, either you aren't paying attention to any merger ever, especially the last two that involved this company, or you're just hoping of that. And if you hope that, that's wonderful. I hope there's stability in DC as well. But I understand that, when people take over, and of all the people who were taking over a company, you have a volatile individual and the Ellison family that I can't believe that there's not going to be massive changes,
and
or that he's going to create an environment that maybe some people don't want to be around.
And the first meeting, the first executive meeting that he hosted, Gunn was noticeably absent from.
Well, and it went like shit from what some of the insiders said. So,
Yeah,
who knows? So, yeah. So I take the whole DCU with a grain of salt, one project at a time. Give me the lanterns, because, to be honest with you, beyond lanterns and the stuff that I already know is happening, I don't know if any of this other stuff. You're telling me Adria Jordan is going to be okay until she's in front of a camera wearing a golden lasso or whatever the hell Massimo wears, until I see her and she's interviewing in costume saying, wow, we're doing great here and all that, and then I don't believe anything. I don't believe anything is going to happen. And I'm not saying that they're lying, I'm pretty sure they intend to do this, but there's only so much you can do if there's too many factors that are out of his control. And we're still on just the second major movie. So yeah, I hope it speeds up. I hope Lanterns gets us further, but then Lanterns, once again, Lanterns is a TV show. It's a TV show that I'm very much looking forward to. But as far as the DCU goes, I think it's going to be judged by what kind of quality and momentum it gets from the box office. That's the measurable right there. Because they hide the streaming numbers. They lie about those all they want. So.
Yeah, but
I love Supergirl.
They're inevitably bigger than what they let on.
Yeah, but is it if you're talking about equating something that's on streaming to a box office result, a lot of these guys who make their decisions are not going to do it that way.
If you don't want to do more streaming properties, then yeah, that is the relevant metric.
Yeah, but if you're trying to equate it to, okay, is this an event movie or I can do it? I don't know if they got that data yet. I love Supergirl, but I've always known it's a harder character. Yeah, it's hard. It's just like Batgirl is. It's just like Robin is. All the sidecar characters are going to be that way. Hold on for a second.
Yeah. We got a couple super chats I'm going to read off here.
Where did I put your stuff?
I'm not rushing. I'm not rushing.
By the way, we're going to talk about probably. I don't know if we're talking about this week or not, but this is cool. This is the Earth 616 blind bag I opened up. Got a Doctor Doom mask and a reprint of a Fantastic Four 258, and then a Doom Quest comic. But here it is.
You live?
Yeah. Awesome. No, you don't have to. You got cool. And that's the bag one, and then I got I have one blind bag left on the counter. William, I think they're not announcing many things pre-merger for. Yeah, you're 100. I thank you for the $5 super chat, but I believe I agree 100%.
Here's the problem with that, though, is they already did announce a ton of things with the initial slate announcement.
That was before they knew the merger was going to turn out the way it did.
Yeah, but even so, they're still that still leaves them. You can call you call this being a victim of circumstance, but it still leaves them in a tight spot where they said we announced like Brave and the Bold, Swamp Thing, Booster Gold, et cetera, and again, I mean, it's been just radio silence on.
Well, he did what he was supposed to do. That I don't have a problem with him announcing those. I have a problem with his bosses not creating an environment where those things can't happen. Everything that James Gunn put out there, as far as if there was going to be a reason to stop it, it should have been a creative and philosophical one. The reason why you're not going forward with a lot of these things is the instability of the company. That's their fault. They hired this guy. Zaslav hired that guy while he was flipping this thing like a burger. So I don't mind the fact that James Gunn should have announced that. Not only should have he announced that, we should be well on our way going through these things. But you can't, because you don't even know who's going to be wearing what. Even if there's a DCU, is it going to be him? Where's the contract? There's just so many things right now. And that's the biggest thing right now, is the fact that the most important cog in this whole thing, as far as the studio head goes, is, as far as I know, unless there's been some secret contract signed, His
I doubt that.
contract's expiring. Yeah, his contract's expiring. So if I'm him at the beginning of all this, I would go ahead and announce this thing. But if I'm above him, I'm like, all right, I need to lock this guy down. But I also brought up at the beginning of this when everybody told me that Hamada was going to stay there and that everybody that's in the pre-merger status is going to stay there. And then they told me that
how widespread was that at the time? It was like Hamada's like he's locked in, he's untouchable,
Yeah, I told you, I spent 2 years telling you he's gone. Now the same thing with James Gunn. People are like, oh, James Gunn's going to stay there. He's so successful. And listen, fanboy logic doesn't pay for shit, guys. What you perceive to be success, some banker is being like, nah, that ain't good enough for me, or I can do it better. So when you have something like that happening, and there's a lot of people like he's going to stay there. It's not. People spending $111 billion on something tend to want to do things their way. Now, even if he keeps Abdi and Luke are going to want to stay, they could buy out their contracts if they want to and go somewhere else and probably make better money. They could go to Netflix if they wanted to. Is James Gunn going to want to stay? Is he going to be given the autonomy that Zaslav promised him? Ellison will say, hey, I want to keep him around, but I want you around under my rules. Is he going to give him? And that's what a contract gives you. That's when you're a studio head. Hold on for a second. That's when you're a studio head, there are legalities and things that are worked into your contract. That's why if we would have had a studio head back in 2013, we wouldn't be here right now. But when you negotiate these things, and who knows when he starts negotiating a contract with Ellison, and he says, you know what, I want the same autonomy that Zaslav gave me. And Ellison says, oh, okay, well, but and the minute he starts fudging, maybe James Gunn's like, you know what, I think I can go somewhere. I can go back to Marvel and let Kevin Feige roll off into the sunset to something else. James Gunn will have a job the minute he's gone from DC.
And by the way, none of this that we're saying here, that none of that precludes the possibility of like Gunn staying or the franchise proceeding. None of this is like ruling any of that out.
Just don't know.
Yeah. So we got
uncertainty breeds contempt. Thank you for the $5 super chat.
We got a couple more here.
Go ahead.
Force said I called him months ago. It would be a Superman saga, only that Gunn would never get to Batman. Where's Batman? We've seen him like in silhouette form in a cartoon so far, and that's about it.
Hey, he has his plan, and that's fine. If you have time and you're going to be around, then that's fine. Put him in when you want to put him in. Thank you for the $5 super chat. But this is my philosophy. If it were me, and it's not me, it's not my company, it's not my billion, it's not my million. Before we get a Superman going first, I'm in 2020 in the 2020s. Batman's got to be number one for me. Batman has to go first. Batman gets everybody. Batman's that club horn. Batman is a club horn letting everybody know there's a party going on. And Batman is the one that gathers everybody in the places you need them to be and allows you to showcase anything else you want to, because now you have their attention. Superman's, no matter who's doing them, whether we like the movies or not, or whether they suck or not, has always been the harder sell because he's an idea that everybody views differently. Batman is rage. Batman is, I want to beat the hell out of everybody around me on certain days. Batman is, I've been wrong, go kick his ass, Bruce, type of guy. Everybody can relate to that. Batman's always been the bigger seller on every platform. Batman is going to be. I personally, I'm just a fucking loser sitting in a comic book store. I would have gone with Batman first or very soon after. That's why when people tell me, well, they rushed Batman and should have stepped. No, fuck that. You get the bat in as soon as possible. If it is me running in 2013, guess who's in a post credit scene? You damn right. That's how I would have handled Batman money.
I don't know if this is true. We need to ask Zach about this, but apparently there was like
we're ever gonna get to
there was like some talk like Man of Steel like ending with a scene of like Bruce like getting a ship to kryptonite at his front doorstep or something. But of course they hadn't cast their you could work around that where it's just you just show it in like the package and like show and say it's like addressed to Bruce Wayne so you can establish that a Batman is there. But
yeah, to me, Batman is very important. That's why I'm worried. I mean, okay, we're not only are we getting a Batman, we're getting a bold Batman.
They now this is not as big as that, but I mean, of course, the final Zod fight and
Thank you, Forth.
they have the Wayne Enterprises satellite. Again, it's like those are like it's just like the LexCorp stuff. It's like those are seeds, so it's not like a lightning rod, but it is like establishing that character exists in this world.
Yeah, I think the thing going against Supergirl is there's a lot of other potential, other good and great movies. Yeah, that is loaded, but you have a problem because I think the summer blockbuster season isn't as long as people think the blockbuster. I think the summer blockbuster season ends in July. And the reason I say that is because most of these places now, school starts in August. So that means not only are you up against that
August.
first day, usually first or second week in August.
Yeah, because that's because for
Vegas it was August 7th or 8th last year.
Yeah, for me it was usually around, I think it was usually around like
for
August.
us it was September
16th. It's it's I've been noticing that with kids like in the school. I ask like when's your like summer break start and end? And they tell me it's like they're just shortening up the summer. These kids so much. It's like what the hell are they doing in school?
They don't want them around. That's why. But the only time I think that works is with an established A-lister that's had movies before, like Spider-Man releasing on July 31st is going to be fine. It's going to be fine. It's got a pedigree. It's going to.
Well, they may put him out during it's Christmas, but it's like that's outside the summer season. That's
but they've always done it
as long of like a window as far as like vacation time.
But with Fantastic Four, people came up with a lot of bullshit reasons why they thought Fantastic Four didn't make as much money as they thought it should make.
That did pretty good.
It did well enough. It did well.
That's
but
the biggest Fantastic Four movie. It was not the established A-listers that had been on your screen for the last 11, 12 years. Two, you're putting that type of movie within weeks. And not only does school start on a certain day, but the family dynamics as far as spending goes changes because you have to get your kids and everything ready for school. If you're talking about if you have an athlete as a kid, if you have a child, you got to start all kinds of stuff. I remember when I was in school, physical, all kinds of stuff you had to get ready for. So I don't think if you were going to move Supergirl from that packed schedule, you may as well go ahead and just move it to Christmas because at least you have 2 weeks where they can see multiple movies. Yeah, Fantastic Four that did 522. That's kind of where I was pegging it. And that makes it the biggest earning Fantastic Four movie. So that's kind of where I was pegging it. Land is in like the 500 range.
The thing that had going against it was the ramp up to Fantastic Four was B-list. And they leave the restaurant when the steak stops coming. You start bringing out Spam and bologna. I get up and say, you know what? Let me know when the tenderloin is back in. Let me know when the 16-ouncer is back in. And when it's back in, guess what? You think Spider-Man is going to sprint over $1 billion because that's the A-lister. That's what they've been waiting for. Avengers is going to print money, both of them, and that's because it's A-list. That it's not the customer's fault too because you train your customer for that. You raise their expectations, and that's what they want. So. I think Supergirl's in a tough spot. But listen, if it comes out and it's good, it's fine. And he does get opportunities to tell more stories. It's a piece of the puzzle that you can refer back to. There's a lot of MCU movies that weren't the best, that didn't do the best. But when you get the full puzzle put together, you couldn't have gotten there without that piece. And it becomes bigger now. And if they do this right with the DCU, then as we move further into the DCU, knock on wood, if we get more, then Supergirl, Brainiac is key to a lot of the things that you might associate with her. So as we get bigger and we get to sort of these global threats, you will refer back to Supergirl. It won't have to make this gross amount of money. You want it to break even and do a little bit better than that. But it's going to be on your streaming platforms. As your universe gets bigger, people will go back to that movie and be like, because I know there's a lot of people who skip certain Marvel movies. If you notice, not every Marvel movie made $1 billion. You know why? Because not everybody who went to see certain movies gave a shit about others. But it's on Disney Plus, it's on physical media. So there's a circle of life that could prove Supergirl. I'm looking forward to Supergirl. Even though I'm telling you guys right now, I think it's going to hurt. It's going to struggle a little bit. I like this. I love the story that it's being based on. I have not seen Millie Alcock in anything other than Game of Thrones, but she was good there. Jason Momoa is playing a character that I have no use for, but I like
He's
Jason
actually the
Momoa.
thing I'm most looking forward to in Supergirl is Lobo.
Yeah, and he's the MILF magnet. You know, the MILFs are going to go see him. There's a lot of money that's going to be made just because Jason Momoa is in it. And if he takes that vest off and walks around shirtless, there's repeat money for the MILFs. So I think it's going to do what it needs to do. Is it going to do spectacular? I don't think so. It's going to do good enough. It's going to do like Superman did. It's going to be good enough to say we can move forward. That's all it really needs to do. Now, that's in one hand. But without a long-term situation for James Gunn, do I need that to speed up? You see what I mean? If I had James Gunn under a long-term contract and I know that he can pace himself to get exactly where he wants to go and announce, then I'm like, perfect. But if I got Ellerston and I got Netflix sabotaging or apparently sabotaging, and I got legal cases, I got these things going on, it's just a lot of turmoil, and that does affect the company.
And this is where I've asked this before about Zaslav, and I still kind of asking about him, but now I'll add the Elsons into it, or even like Netflix, if they were to like theoretically re-enter the fray as far as the merger goes. You know, we were talking about like these, this needs to do good enough to keep going forward. It's like, okay, but do those guys see it that way? Do those guys see? And I'm not asking that flippantly. I'm asking like legit, like do the Elsons strike you as guys who are going to say good enough is good enough?
No, because I think they're looking at a much bigger picture and a much longer picture. I don't think any one movie right now is going to.
I'm not talking about Supergirl specifically. I'm just talking about just.
You're talking about DCU.
Yeah.
I would still say the same answer because I got a suspicion. I got a suspicion that no matter what he says, he's got his idea for the DCU.
Well, you said yourself, like he's on the show with us right now and said William is black. William would need to let me see a mirror.
So I don't think it, to me, if you have an ego that says I can do it better, and when you're consuming another company, there's an ego there that says I can do it better than the last guy. You know, if he was doing that great, I wouldn't have been able to buy that company. So there's a lot of
and
ego.
He wanted this thing clearly.
Yeah, he overpaid for the company. So I can't believe that somebody that's going to drop that kind of cheddar is just going to not
to make this happen.
Yeah, he is going to come in and make changes. And being honest with you, that's as the owner of the company and the person who put all their risk and on it, he has the right to do that. But that leads to instability as far as So that's why I don't think it doesn't matter how. Some of these movies could have made. That's why when they tell me it's Shazam or not Shazam, but Black Adam would have made $1 billion, everybody would have kept their jobs. No, these jackasses have their people. Or they know that they don't want the current people in charge because they associate those people with the reason why they're able to buy the company. So I don't think so. Short answer to your question is no. I don't think that one movie will make a difference. I think they have a plan. Here's the thing. I think that the Ellersons and David Ellison thinks that everybody will be okay with his plan, and we don't know if they will. That's what happens. And
that is kind of interesting with this guy because he's like I said, he wanted this. Yeah. He was fully. He had no qualms about making a complete ass of himself to make this merger happen.
Yeah, so. and then when he gets frustrated, he just starts saying anything. Yeah, and we call those lies here, on Earth. Yeah, so he's erratic too. I've never seen anybody involved in anything like this. That erraticism is just I don't know, man. So one project at a time, when it comes to the DCU. I don't know at the end of his say James Gunn says, you know what, this is just too much craziness, and I'm going to go to Marvel. I'm going to go Disney. I'm going to go to whatever. And I haven't gotten the Batman that he intended yet. And I was just hoping, because I think that if Batman comes sooner or when it came sooner, I think that changes the entire perception of the DCU, whether it's successful or not. I know that's not fair, but it's not a game of fair. It's a game of momentum and perception. How do you perceive this 3 or 4 years in? And I think that's where we're at now when it comes to DCU. So,
well, it's
all right.
William Peter Safford said, "Yeah, I saw that quote too," and that's where I go back to. It's like we'll talk about next part. didn't you guys already map that part out? I mean, wasn't that the whole point of announcing the slate? Was saying it's like, and the whole thing about like we've got a Bible of DC. It's like wasn't weren't.
Well, no, but that's out of their hands. They did what they were supposed to do. They should have announced that, but they can't control the destabilization of the company and how this is going down. So that's why he has to revert to saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is that I mean that should at least give them nothing else, at least a baseline for what they would want to do post Man Tomorrow.
No, what they want, yeah, but that I can't go forth telling you about that when I don't know if it's going to happen or not. I'm telling you about something I may not even be around to usher in, so it's kind of a tough situation. That's why he reverted to that. Once you get a contract, if he says, you know, I don't have to believe Ellison. I never will. I believe signatures in legal terms. And once James Gunn's locked under a 4 or 5 movie or whatever lengthy contract, a contract so prickly that if somebody tries to break it, it hurts them. It hurts all involved. Then you'll start to see, okay, this is where I have planned. This is where I have, and you can exhale because you know you're going to be there. But right now, they need to stop talking about some of this stuff because we don't know what's going on. We don't even know if the merger is going to happen. If there's anybody that can fuck up this merger, it's David Ellison.
Well, and the thing I've also said, maybe this plays into like the allegation they're making that Netflix is like launching a smear campaign or something, is that if like the Paramount one gets blocked, it's like I would not at all be surprised if Netflix says, okay, you cleared the board for us, we'll get it at a cheaper price now, and they just jump right back in, and now Netflix is the buyer. Once again.
I would chase
you. Good. Make sure you.
By the way, Williams customer, go see The Furious if you haven't.
I do have a first appearance in Florida balance.
That is. I do remember seeing it. And your buddy's customer. Just everywhere now.
Yeah, I need to signature all kinds of shit.
Did you hear that Roger Craig Smith was over here at Collecticon?
I heard about Collecticon.
If you're not familiar, Roger Craig Smith has got some good stuff.
Yeah, Cortana's coming back too.
Hey, William, thanks for your time.
No problem, man.
You're always a great guy.
All right, you have a nice day, and I'll see you around. Let me know if you need anything else.
Will do. Stay
All right.
cool.
Oh, here's an interesting one. By the way, I told your customer to go see The Furious. Which, by the way, tonight I came back.
You probably wouldn't know what it is.
I came back for round 3 of that tonight. It was about 80% full. So
that's it, round 3. All right, where we're at.
Here's one rational. Paramount may want to merge Gun versus. Well, yeah, I saw this a minute ago. And here's the thing about that is first of all, Batman Part 2 that comes post Man Tomorrow, and the thing about it is that's October 27 when that's supposed to come out.
Yeah.
These things are also still subject to delays, so it's like it's not off the table.
Well, at least there's cameras in front of the Batman.
Oh, that's true. But I'm saying like release wise, it might get kicked back to like March of 28.
Yeah. Oh yeah, anything can happen.
That's like way deeper into the merger.
Rational. I get this question a lot. There will be no The Batman if this happens because I truly believe that Matt Reeves will walk away. And nobody is going to want to put up the money for something that he's not involved in at this point when it comes to The Batman. I think the ultimate leverage here is no matter how much Man of Tomorrow or, whatever it may, that's a hypothetical when it comes to the Batman Part 2 because we're not there yet. And the Batman Part 1 made more than they expected it to make. So if they were to make a decision that they wanted to merge that universe, and it would be against his will because he's already explicitly said that, then he'll walk. You won't get a Batman 3. And you can merge whatever you want because it won't be him at the L. But thank you for the $5 super chat, man. Thank you for the support for all you guys that are that have contributed tonight. Thoughts on McFarlane losing the DC action figure licensing back to Mattel?
Oh, he lost that? I was not aware of that.
I don't know why this happened. I think that
because he was killing it on the DC figures, and he was doing like stuff. I mean, every time I go into the Target, I mean, there's stuff. McFarlane Toys has like figures from the movies, has figures from like different comic book variations, some anime. I mean, he knows. He just dives deep on like doing like every variation of like of the action figures that you could just imagine. I mean, like Farland toys is like the best thing to happen for toys.
Here's the thing. That's all true. That's all true. But I guarantee you this came down to negotiation, profit margins, and shares and things like that. Because when you're McFarlane, you're McFarlane. You probably want this amount of money. You want this amount of market share. And then DC would probably, well, we need to make more off a per unit type of situation. And Mattel will give us that deal. That's the way those things usually work. Because McFarlane's going to come into that office with a lot of confidence, and rightfully so. But now if you're DC, if you're, a company that's, that's trying to cut corners and do all, and trying to reach, to do all kinds of other things, they just couldn't reach a number. That's what probably, and I wasn't in the room, but I'm just guessing that in order for that to happen with the resume and the sales that Todd McFarlane has behind his toys, it had to be how much as DC are we getting as far as take home for us versus what we're paying you, and and they probably thought they got a better deal for somebody. So yeah, that's crazy, but it can happen. All right, let's see. Let's super chat. Thank you for the super chat. All right, William. Even if Rob would have, I don't think Robert Patterson stays. A lot of these things when it comes to the directors and it, nobody's going to want to strain that relationship. I mean, that's like when you have an actor and he's your star and you're being guided like this, that's a connection. That's a connection. And once you break that connection, it's really, it ends up turning into disaster if you allow it to go on. So I don't know first of all, I don't think they're going to mess with Matt Reeves. I don't think they're going to try to merge his universe or do anything like that. So I don't think that's an issue to begin with. But I think if Matt Reeves went, I think Robert Pattinson, because Robert Pattinson can get roles doing something else. It's not like he's bound to Batman. He can get the Oscar nominated award actor. He can go do certain things. All right. So what have we covered so far? Because I went in completely crazy when it came to. Let's talk about Absolute Batman number 22. Let me bring that up. Now that we can talk spoiler. We had Two-Face. A little bit more in-depth story as far as Two-Face goes. Not his first appearance, but he's appeared before in a couple issues prior. But let me bring this up. Let's see. All right, so I'm going to give you my review. For those of you who haven't read my review, I don't know why you guys aren't reading my reviews. But for those of you who have not read my review, I'm putting it in the chat right now. This is the biggest thing about this issue, and I'm going to go ahead and just go right to it. Let's see, StreamYard, don't fail me now. All right, so we're going to share screen, see if that works. That works. Cool, perfect. All right, let's do this. All right, so here's my review. Absolute Batman 21, the Straw Man, which is, it's just non-spoiler, but we're going to spoil it. This issue pretty much picked up after the encounter with the Robins from last issue. So he's dealing with the Mecha Robins, and that situation is progressing. It's a usual solid issue, but let's be frank. The last panels give us a legendary and well-handled confrontation that escalates everything that we've seen so far. It reminds me of the cafe scene between De Niro and Pacino in Heat. If you've been down for the last 20 issues, 21 is a must-read. And let me bring that up here because he meets the Joker for the first time. So all these covers that you guys have seen and come on, let's do it. Here we go. That's the Batman. Here we go. All these covers that we've seen with the Joker and all these other things that we got. This is the first time in all these issues because Absolute Joker first appeared in Absolute Batman number 15 in full form, even though the man that Jack Grimm had been in throughout this series. He does not appear in his Joker form until Absolute Batman 15, but he's been throughout this story. So the majority of this, can you guys see that? Okay, cool.
So the majority of this is him squaring off against the Robins, him, manipulating them and ultimately taking enough of them out because they got these, Mechazord type of situation going on. And then some of them realize, okay, maybe we've been kind of like manipulated. And then Batman with his kick-ass drones here is kind of cool. Quadrocopter drones with the bat head on them. There's a lot of cool tech. This is probably the coolest technical episode of the entire series, and there's him getting rescued by one of his bat drones. I felt like I was waiting for the bat utility belt from the old Adam West series. But this is what it comes down to for me. And this is it's a flashback of Jim Gordon, but that's not what we're a lot of this is going to be leading to Absolute Batgirl, or in issue 24, which has been released. And this is him and the Penguin and one of these covers. So I'm going to show you the covers here real quick. But him and the Penguin are kind of dueled up, and they're losing their minds. They're becoming the villains that we know they are about to be. But Penguin is becoming increasingly more violent, and Two-Face is Two-Face. He's doing the whole coin flip thing, and he's here killing people based on the coin flip, which is what he does. Now, this is the entire comic for me. This is the here we go. This is the entire comic. Bruce is working, doing his construction job. He's high above Gotham. This is an excellent shot here where he's standing and you can only see the tops of the Sky Reaper. If you're scared of heights, you probably can't even look at this panel because he's just standing on there. He's not even tethered to anything. And you'll see that comes into play here pretty soon. And his boss is like, hey, Bruce, you okay up there? I just wanted you to meet some investors. And then you hear him say, hello, Bruce. And there you go. It's Jack Grimm. It's the Joker. Now, unlike other Batman series, nobody's secret identity is shit here. Everybody knows that he's Bruce. I don't even know why he has one. But he's like, I'm Jack Grimm. Nice to finally meet you. And obviously, Bruce, because of Alfred, already knows who Jack Grimm is. And he knows who he might be. And there he is. He's ready to beat his ass. Now, even though he's in his human form, he still has some levels of superhuman strength. He's able to keep Bruce is about to haul off and punch him. And they're on this beam. So don't forget that. And with one hand, he stops this 6'8" punch just out of nowhere. And he's like, there's no need for all that. Let's not make a scene. He's like, I know what you are. And he's like, yes, I'm the man who made you. But back then, you were just meant to be a fun side project, a footnote. But now what you become, I love it. And the truth is, I can't imagine life without you any more than you and me. And they're just sitting there just on this beam like this. And then he's like, I want to do this dance forever. And Bruce says, I'm not afraid of you. And then this is the first time he actually sees, he's never seen him in his monster form. So there you go. You got Joker turning into this monster form and doing the Joker laugh. Bruce is about to fall off the beam, and Joker grabs him and says, you don't get to do that yet, Bruce. And then he said, not until we've seen the Batman reach his full potential. So there's a long-term plan that goes from him becoming Batman to begin with, and the origin story that these guys have been involved in, and that's what the couple of issue 18 or issue 19. That's what the Scarecrow was trying to tell him. This thing that happened with you and your father, that was part of a bigger, grand, uglier design. And then you see Joker here reinforcing it. Now what you get to see is this is Clayface. This is absolute Clayface. While they're talking about that, he's like, and if you hear one thing I say today, let it be that this Batman isn't yours to end. It's mine. But while he's talking, you see this level 246 Arc M transmutation and plasticity. That's Clayface. And you just see a scene, and then you see absolute Clayface coming up through the mud and through the organic clay as Batman. And one of the covers of one of the future Absolute Batman is a clay version of Batman fighting Absolute Batman. I put in my review that it just reminded me, for those of you who have not seen Michael Mann's Heat. Man, you're missing out. It's his best film in my opinion. But the intensity of the one-on-one conversation between Robert De Niro's character and Al Pacino's character, who's the cop who's pursuing him. Now, Al Pacino knows he's a bank robber, and De Niro knows he's the cop chasing him. But through all this chaos, all this tension, they decide that they want to have just a man-to-man talk at a cafe, and it's the best scene of the movie. It's an iconic scene, and they're talking about, but it's not as cold and callous as this scene. This scene is just Joker being a piece of shit, letting him know, that Bruce is like not in control of anything. But the one-on-one nature of it, I thought was cool. Whereas in Heat, it was less adversarial as it was here. Heat, these guys just want to move on with their lives. They want something better. De Niro wants to do one last score and never be a bank robber again, and Pacino just wants a happier life because as a cop, he's fucked up a bunch of marriages and everything. He's a complete fuck up. So they're both looking for something that they know they are never going to get. Here's a one-on-one conversation about somebody who has a grand design, that everything that Bruce thought he was and what he was about is being called into question by this fucking monster. And the dialogue, the intensity, and then the backdrop of absolute Clayface, which should be his next enemy, is coming up. The book continues. We're almost 2 years into it. In fact, the Absolute Batgirl one will be issue 24. That'll give us 2 years of the Absolute Universe. And it's not losing any steam. It's moments like this, 32 pages in this comic, and it's the last panel or so that really binds the book together. So I am probably speaking to the choir. If you followed my advice for the last 2 years, you were on this Absolute train 2 years ago. You should have been on it. Prior to the prices going crazy. So and lastly, here are the covers, are the ones I have left over. I have a Quintana one coming in. This is the A cover. Actually, no, I'm sorry. That is not the A cover. It's very similar to the A cover. This is the A cover. And this is kind of old school because a lot of times, a lot of people don't use quotes on the covers anymore. Back when I was growing up, there was always, there was talking on the cover, but lately you get covers that are just usually just the action, and that's it. And that's Two-Face with a coin in one hand and an Uzi in another one. Haven't seen an Uzi in a long time. And this is a variant cover with the Penguin. That's the Penguin in his full garb with his. He uses his machine guns to walk like he does his cane when he's in the normal universe. And if you notice, it's not just a variant cover, but it comes together. So one of these, I think one of these is it. Which one goes left to right? Hold on. That's this one. Yeah. So you put these covers together, and I think there's another one with other characters on that makes one, but the A cover itself is this one. The A cover is always going to be the one with the actual lettering on it, like that. But issue 21, it's a good read. You guys should go out and grab it. So I hope none of these reviews aren't all sounding the same, but it's the consistency in Absolute Universe and Absolute Green Lantern, Green Arrow 2, by the way. We'll review that in a couple of days. I'll be behind on that review, but don't sleep on Absolute Green Arrow. All right, it's a good movie. But William, of course, that he made. I mean, everybody's going to have to go through their own process of what they want to do. It depends on where we're at in the Superman saga when this all goes down. I could see it going either way. I could see Cornsmith saying, you know what, this is the role of a lifetime. I want to stay. He might be one of those guys who wants more direction with the character. Who knows? But you're having a guy that's crafting this universe with the people that he's casting. It's going to be tough when you have someone else's vision coming in. Is that going to work? Doesn't always work, but that's something that each individual is probably going to end up having to do. Like I said, when he asked me about Patterson, I don't think Patterson would stay without Mammy. Just That's just a gut feeling I have, but it's based on nothing. He has a batarang. Yeah, he has a batarang, and he has like bat blades, and he has little acid grenades, which I think is kind of cruel. Paul 404, William Brad, do you think Escape from New York can be pulled off without Snake Plissken? Yeah.
Well, I mean, describe.
You're gonna have to.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not a big fan of remakes in general, but I was never the biggest fan of this movie, so to me it's an improvement no matter what happens. But I think it can. The other night on Film Junkies podcast, they even call it a podcast anymore. It's a stream, I guess.
I think it does.
The fact that you had a bad take saying that even the current. Okay, you guys got to type this. I'm going to speak slowly. The fact that I had a bad take saying that even with the current DC, it's the inconsistency of output. I'm sorry, but you want rush bullshit like we got.
He's wrote a novel in my comments about this.
Out of prior DCU, if that's what you're asking for, and you can just pack it up for DC. Meanwhile, they're heavily focused on good quality. Listen, dude, the reality is no matter what you want, you don't have infinite amount of time to make this case. You just don't. And I don't mean rushed. You can pace this out. What I mean is by the sequence of it. So if you're going to have a 3-year period where we only have a certain amount of movies, okay, great. In my opinion, this is just my opinion, not my studio. One of those needs to be the bat. One of those is going to be the bat.
And a bat connected to the Superman.
Yeah, because regardless to which you think, Donovan, the perception of things is sometimes stronger than our desires for these things. So I don't think that's a bad take. I think that is, even James Gunn said that we are going to start moving towards heavier characters. He said that, that's his words. I could probably find that quote somewhere. Is that he was going to, going further, they were going to focus on the bigger names. Now, is that an adjustment because the pace of things and we've only got the one A-lister so far? I don't know. I'm not in that room. But as a consumer, I think that the bat should have been further, we should be further along in that as possible. So, and at no point was I comparing it to the DCU. The DCU wasn't rushed. I think people are full of shit up to their eyelids when they say that BVS was rushed and getting Batman rushed before getting a Man. I think people who I love and adore and respect, I think that take is bullshit. The DCU wasn't rushed. That wasn't the DCU's problem. The DCU was disorganized after a certain point. It was mismanaged. So there wasn't no rushing in the DCU. So I disagree with you there. There was mismanagement. And you can mismanage. You could have all the movies paced the way they're supposed to be, coming out when they're supposed to be, and still mismanage things. I don't think that's the case with James Gunn's DCU. I just think that it's like, okay, you're trying to build an audience. It's got to be with the tools that you build an audience with. That's just my opinion. I'm not trying to change anybody's mind. All right, so it's a long-term benefit. Okay, but here's the thing, Donovan. We don't know what long-term is. We don't know how long we have to get to where we're going to this universe before there are changes. When I say changes that may not have anything to do with the quality of the movies or James Gunn. There's a lot going on with this company right now. And the fact that he's not under some long-term contract to fulfill all of this, to me, I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if you want to come up to me and tell me he's not going anywhere. Listen, you can believe that. But this consumer relies on the stability that comes from a contract. And without a contract, if they announce tomorrow James Gunn signed a 7-year deal, he's going to be the DCU studio head, and this is the terms, this, that, then I'm good. But without that, I don't have to believe shit. And if you guys want to, listen, a grown man can believe in the Easter Bunny if he wants to. I choose not to. I don't believe in hypotheticals. I don't believe in hope. I believe in contracts. So when you say detriment, you're assuming that this is a long-ended thing that is guaranteed, that the road is guaranteed. And I'm like, dude, there are orange cones all over this Paramount merger. So I'm saying I'm taking a wait and see attitude. But I think if it had been me, and it's not me, to put yourself in a stronger position, I think the bat had to be out there because the bat is the bigger draw than the S, and the bat is a bigger draw than the female S. It's just, I'm not, saying not to be a dick. It's just true. Sales numbers tell you that. The whole merger is going to be creating all new. Yeah.
Okay.
The take and the lack of a better term.
Jesus Christ, Donovan.
A narrow-minded and a very illiterate take. Now you're calling me illiterate, so I'm going to let that go and answer your question. To have about a movie franchise, meaning the biggest difference between DC. Okay, but what you're ignoring, Donovan, and I don't even know if this is Donovan because you're the Donovan that I know.
Every bit as annoying as the real Donovan.
Okay, you're just too many phantom hypotheticals that your argument relies on. The take is lack of a better term, is narrow-minded. Narrow-minded would be you trying to ignore. You're like the people on the Titanic trying to, rearrange the tables as something's happening with the ship. And I'm not saying this ship is going to sink, but what I am saying, there are things happening around all of this that could destabilize this. And you're assuming that everything is going to go well. You can go on with that assumption. I choose not to. That doesn't make me narrow-minded. And sure as fuck doesn't make me illiterate. To have about a movie franchise, while the biggest difference is that the DCU now has direction. The biggest mistake that you're making, whoever this is I'm not bringing DCU up. You are. You seem to be hung up on the DCU. I don't have to give you an assessment, or DCEU. I don't have to give you an assessment. My assessment about the DCU has nothing to do about the DCEU. I don't have to bring that up. That's you. That's a conversation you're having with yourself, and you're more than welcome to have it. But where we're at is narratively, I think we could have been there if the bat had been there. That's all. He has made a decision to do it the other way, and I'm fine with that. I just wish it wouldn't matter to me in what sequence he did them in if I thought that there was stability in the company and I could believe it. I don't. I don't believe in the stability of the DCU. I don't believe in the stability of Warner Brothers. And I don't believe in the stability of this merged entity if it happens. And if it gets uglier, there's delays. With thousands of jobs being lost, things being restructured, all kinds of things happening in the same pool that all this is taking place in. So I'm sorry if I don't want to. I can't ignore that because here's a DCU comparison that I will make. When I didn't give a shit about what was going on around and I just waited for the movies to come out, I ended up being left with an empty bag because the instability left me with an unfinished story. So, yeah, you can't deny that that's a factor. If you want to, you can, but you shouldn't be calling me names because you want to do that.
Yeah, and Donovan, get a life,
Hold on,
dude.
I'm going to bring up
screenshotting everything I post about this from behind a block.
Never had to begin with. Also, see, this is too long of a comment, but I'm going to read it because
what his comments sound like what I do.
Also, saying that if there's not consistently with releases, you will go into something else. Do you work anywhere, dude? Have you ever shopped anywhere? Have you ever been a customer of something? If you stop the if you stop, it's rhythm. It's called rhythm. I call it rhythm retail. It's called rhythm retail. Hey, comic books come out every Wednesday, right? All right. So my customers come in and, I have sales, late night sales every Saturday. I just had one right now, right? And I have, there are benefits to shopping here in a certain time in a window. And I have gotten my customer used to that retail rhythm. If I don't do things frequently to keep my customers engaged with my product, my customer is going to go away. That's for comic books. That's for food. That's why there's commercials. That's why there's promotions. That's why there's frequency. If you go too long without the frequency, then your customer goes somewhere else. That's just reality, dude. You're coming at me because you have a personal problem with my opinion, but you're ignoring what is called retail reality. That retail rhythm is very important. It brands your customer to you. That's how you do that. So, yeah. I don't know where you stand with Supergirl. Yeah, okay. I just watched the show, dude.
Yeah.
I've been telling you this whole time. But
You
anyway,
say for like
all you,
you're get me the lanterns.
hold on.
And that's his prerogative.
all,
Right? Like any other fan.
all you care about is Lanterns right now, maybe Clayface. I don't really care much about Clayface, to be honest with you. I'm going to go see it, and I'm going to go in with an open mind, but not really any big expectations. And I will, and if it's great, it's great. I know the guy who's done it has done other stuff that I've been all right with. I am not going to repeat how I feel about Supergirl, because if you've been watching the show, you know how I feel about Supergirl. But yeah, fuck it, yeah, give me the lanterns. When they announced all this stuff, that's the first thing I said when I heard.
I can confirm. I was there when really was talking about like give me the lanterns, like right from the
give me the lanterns. That just means out of all these projects, that's the one I was the most excited about. Guess what? That's a preference. That's me being a customer. But yeah, I will repeat it for the new people. I love the story that they're basing this on. This is based on Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. I love that story. I think it's Tom King's best work, and I think it's the best Supergirl story that they put out. There has been nothing about anything that I've seen of Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow that leads me to believe that this is going to be anything less than a quality, fun movie that I think I'm going to enjoy. I mean, I'm looking more forward to Supergirl than I am Man of Tomorrow. And yeah, I am big on Lanterns. It's my favorite DC character besides Batman. But yeah, so I'm not one of these guys that I think you're getting confused with that I mentioned at the beginning of the show. I hope you were watching, like and subscribe. That are rooting for the demise of Supergirl. I don't do that. If I don't like something, I just don't go see it. I don't talk about it. You only have so many breaths on this planet. Why waste them on shit that you don't like? Yeah. All right, so let's see.
I mean, Donovan, you're debating on the DCU more. Yeah.
Let me address it. Also, Brad. Okay, this is to you, but Brad can. First of all, on this, I can engage you on all your other stuff, because that's the question. What have I always said about this show? Nobody has a right to tell anybody who's a fan of anything what to go do, how to cope. Anybody who is addressed that way should tell whoever addresses them to go fuck off, to go fuck themselves. And that's not just you. That's anybody. Listen. It is not your right to tell a fan to do it. As long as Brad's not out there stabbing people and joining a cult, Brad can get a Snyder neck tattoo if he wants to. That is his right. And this mentality of fans trying to tell fans how to be fans is what's fucked up fandom and across the board. Not just this, Star Trek, Star Wars, all this stuff. So to put it frankly, you don't have the right to even type this, to be honest with you.
It's why I blocked you, Donovan. You know, and you fixate on the DCU and the Snyder DC stuff like 80 times more than you do about anything Gunn's doing. You screenshot every single thing I type on this. I'm amazed you had last year. You were able to carve out 2 hours of your day to go see Superman at all, because of how fixated
we've
you are
answered
on
this
what I
question
think about all this.
We've answered the questions. Yeah, if you're watching this show 11:33, yeah, sorry, sorry if I ruined your childhood.
Yeah. Yes, there is an Easter Bunny. Anybody under the age of I don't know, like 10, watching the show.
I'm going to see all of these guys. I'm going to see them all. But out of all of them, you know how I feel about Watchmen, the TV series. I think it's the best thing that DC has ever put on TV. Miniseries or continuous. I love the guy who's doing it. Damon Lindelof, I love him. Lost, right? But Leftovers, great. Watchmen is great. And he's been a part of some really, really good stuff. I like Tom King. I understand the issues that people have on him when it comes to Wonder Woman, but that's really it. His other shit, he does great stuff. And his Supergirl story, I loved it. So Clayface, all right, cool. Sure. Where's Batman? But yeah, just give me the lantern. I've been saying that since day one, and we're finally we're clicking close. Once I pass the Rubicon that is Comic Con, that's if I come back from San Diego. But the next thing up for me is August 16th, literally 2 weeks away. We're gonna do it up. We're gonna have. I got rings. I showed you guys the rings. Oh, I'm gonna have a bunch of people with rings watching lanterns, and we're gonna watch it. We're gonna watch it live, and we're gonna have studio audience, and we're gonna do our post show with people in the audience. Gonna have a lot of fun with this. And if I can get some special guests, great. But I can't wait for Lantern. And that's not to say all these other projects suck or anything. That's just the one I'm locked in on. I might love Clayface. I'm a horror guy. I might love Clayface. I think I'm going to enjoy Supergirl. But Lanterns, if those two things weren't happening, if everything but Lanterns wasn't happening and just, we've got to cancel Man of Tomorrow, oh, wow, that sucks, man. We're not getting Supergirl next week. Oh, damn it. Wow. Tough break. No Clayface. Ooh, wow. Man, I feel for you, buddy. We getting Lanterns? All right. Hey, I got to go. I'll commiserate with you later after Lanterns. That's where I'm at with it. This is the project that I wanted to see. It's the project that is going to shape my perception of the DCU.
Well, now we got Donovan 2.0 and we got Invasion of the Donovans in the comment tonight.
Well, one time they were both in here, and I could tell one of them was fake. But you know what? Whatever one is real, I'm going to answer a question because I'm hosting a show, and as long as you're not vulgar, yeah, you call me names.
That's a good one here.
No, he didn't have a question. He had a point of view, and I didn't have no problem. Have a problem. No problem. I'm talking together now. All right. What am I? I got sidetracked with all that. What did I cover? We covered Absolute Batman. We covered the expectations for. Screen's not coming up. Okay.
For Supergirl, yeah.
Covered the Absolute Supergirl. Dude, listen. This is one of the reasons why I wanted to cover. This disrespect for John Romita, you guys. Don't come in the store. Don't come in here telling me All right, so obviously we had the Frank Miller run that changed everything. But Frank Miller's run changed the status of Daredevil. It changed the acceptable tone, not just of Daredevil, but comics in general. Daredevil, Dark Knight, and things like Watchmen and Sandman later on. I'm not saying they're the same vibe, but those comics not only made it okay to tackle darker tones, it made it okay for the main protagonist to not always be the best of people. When we're talking about the Daredevil that would be continued on from 1986 to 1988, you're talking about a lot of things that were covered. This is when Frank Miller started it, but once we went over to the John Romita Jr. run, and I think along with X-Men, because he was working on X-Men at the same time, right at the end of his run in X-Men, this is the run that I think really helped establish him as somebody whose storytelling can be told in just the basic form of artwork. Now, when you see John Romita's artwork, people are like, here's Typhoid Mary, who I hope if she comes back, they do a better job doing it. But this was a schizophrenic person dealing with mental health issues. Very complex character. This is one of the characters that came through that era. Now, Bullet was another one. There's one of my favorite covers. I don't know if you guys can see that. There you go. This is one of my favorites. This is the basic cover. Bullet, by the way, so if you're watching Born Again, what's his face? Why am I flaking on his name? Brad? His assistant. What's that fool's name? Buck is Bullet. You don't see him that way in Born Again, but Buck is huge. Bullet is he's a CIA agent. He's an assassin. He's huge. He moves really fast for his size. He was one of the cooler characters that they bought in, and just basic covers like this. And a lot of it is influenced by what Frank Miller did, but it kept that tone. And be honest with you, as dark as Frank Miller's tone was when it came to Daredevil, it went even further with this run. He's during the 2 years that this run is, he's questioning whether he wants to be a hero or not, or whether it's even worth it. And there are strings. This is another cover. Is one of my favorite. I actually have this one on the wall. This is one of the ones I used on the thumbnail. This is the Merry Christmas issue. He's questioning whether what he's doing is even worth it. If the people even need Daredevil, if he should just ride off into the sunset. And just like the Frank Miller run, he is lockstep. And this is where when people tell me, "Oh, how come it has to be the Kingpin all the time?" There are other people that he faces throughout this run, but they're all loosely associated with the Kingpin. Typhoid Mary's his wife. And she's got like personalities and telekinesis, and she can do all kinds of crazy stuff, but Daredevil falls in love with her, and that creates a great story dynamic. You have Bullet, who he hires. You have Bullseye in there again. You have all the classic things, but it's all this gritty continuation, and it's not a carbon copy. This is what I found amazing about the Nocenti and Romita run, is it would have been so easy just to come in and just say, you know what, we're just going to carry the water for the legend that just left this book, and they didn't. They took his standard and they upped it. And they wouldn't have been able to do that without Frank Miller kicking the door in. I always tell you guys, there's two people that in the 80s, they didn't say no to. One of them was Chris Claremont. The other one was Frank Miller. What Frank Miller did previous to this run allowed them to do what they did. And that run was significant because instead of Daredevil taking a cheesy, softer, cuddly direction like a lot of books do when a revolutionary writer or artist leaves that band, Vic continued for another 2 years. Everybody who's taken over, even Stephanie Phillips, who's doing the current run of Daredevil, I'm 2 issues into that, and I can feel the Ann Nocenti, John Romita run here. It was a perfect bridge, and it was really, really important because this was in the 80s. This was in the 80s where there was a change in tone as far as the people who were the 8, 9, 10, 12, 14-year-olds that were picking up comics. We weren't picking up the softcore stuff. We were picking up a Batman post Dark Knight. We were picking up Daredevil. We were picking up the X-Men. The X-Men in 1986, when this run first began, was the Mutant Massacre. That was one of the first times I ever saw a comic book deal with mass murder and show it the way they were showing it. Point blank shots. Riptide putting thousands of blades into people. Colossus killing people. The consequences of death. So this was part of all that. 1986, I think, and we're going to cover this in depth towards the end of the year, was, I think, one of the most important years of comics because it was a crossroads that allowed for it to be okay to continue to collect comics. Comics used to be something that you grew out of. Comics used to be something that, the stories would stay the same. They would keep their same demographic, right? They were aiming for those 12 to 16-year-olds. And then as you grew up, you just said, fuck it, I'm not, you give them to your brother or you sell them. This 1986, so much happened in 1986, 1985 that made it okay. I don't know why Brad's off screen. I'm laughing. It made it okay to continue that comic book collecting journey beyond the kid years because the stories like Ann Nocenti's and John Romita's run grew with you. And that's one of the reasons why the Absolute Universe is doing so well is because a lot of people who outgrew even the modern storytelling of DC are now being approached with stories that they can grow into. You can be 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, and these stories are speaking to you. So I think this run was was crucial. And this has also coincided with the rise of the Punisher's popularity. This is issue 221, I think 251, is it 2? Yeah. This was I remember buying this because this was the first time that Punisher and Daredevil had a crossover where they both had their own books. I think it was Daredevil number 7 or 9 where they were crossover, and then War Journal came out. And the tone 10 years prior, Punisher would not have had his own book. But books like Daredevil, books like Batman, and Frank Miller in general helped it. This is there's a cover here, and I have this one here. Daredevil on the cover, gruff with a noose. Now I know that's simple, but back in the 80s, a noose had so many connotations to it that you just didn't do it. But he was telling a story here, and John Romita Jr. was one of the ones that I think did it the best in the mid 80s, to where he got you with the cover. He got you with the cover. One of the most important aspects of a comic book is the cover, because that's its selling point. That's the commercial that gets you into it. And I think John Romita did a very good job of making it. Here's a simple cover right here. This is with the conflict with Bullet. Where Kingpin had hired Bullet to intimidate him, and it's just a simple cover of them standing in a junkyard. But this entire run, also the Mutant Massacre was one of the crossovers. There was a crossover with Thor. There was a crossover with Power Pack, but there was a crossover where Sabretooth and Matt Murdock had a fight in the tunnels because.
Williams, sorry to interrupt real quick. Rational, I saw your DM, and that is definitely not something we can show on the show. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I just wanted to address Rational real quick.
Okay. It was happening, and the Meat Massacre happened in Manhattan. The tunnels were below them. So Sabretooth was fighting Wolverine. He had escaped Wolverine for a little bit. He surfaced, and that's where Daredevil fought him. And that was one of the memorable issues of Daredevil. But this run, and I'm biased. I'm going to tell you, I am biased towards this run because it was where I was transitioning from, Superman, Batman, Green Lanterns, comics for kids. And I started to see these. And I'm 12 years old when I'm reading these stories. So, and this was the tone that I would take with me into where you see me sitting here now. This became what I needed out of superhero comics. It's okay for Superman to be Superman and there would be fluff and all this other stuff as long as you had this. And Marvel was so, they were, they wanted that broad scale of we want to appeal to everybody. But then they finally realized, you know what? This character's strengths don't lend itself to, appealing to everybody. Matt Murdock, he's a blind guy. Isn't he cool? No. We got Karen Page doing porn and shooting up heroin. And a book that is on the same Hey Kids comics racks as Superman or Batman or anything else was. And Ann Nocenti, who would be the editor for X-Men, and she was part of that charge too. She was a writer on this one, and then she made her stamp. So if you are looking to get into comics and you're looking to get into, if you like Daredevil, if you like the TV show, whether it's the Netflix show, and I never really bring up, you see a carbon copy when Daredevil Born Again and Daredevil Netflix are at their best. It's not just Frank Miller that you're seeing. You're seeing, if you read this run I'm talking about, you're seeing Ann Nocenti and John Romita Jr.'s run as well. You're seeing an evolution. Because that's what Frank Miller started. He started an evolution that each individual or each group with their talents can put their stamp on it, but there's no turning back. Whatever, I can't even remember what Daredevil was like before issue 138, 139 when he took over. So, and Romita wasn't just an artist. He worked hand in hand with Ann Nocenti. And the reason why I like the artwork, and I have no problem with the blocky style and all the stuff that comes from Romita, because I know that is what he meant for me to see. That environment is what he had in his mind when he and Ann Nocenti were writing those stories. So 40th anniversary of that run beginning, but it's a really important run for those of you who are coming into comics right now. If I'm not shoving Absolute Batman down your throat, I can shove I can do this. Who is messaging me? Okay, that's my sister. So there are omnibuses out there, and I'm gonna start doing a better job of doing a bibliography. But there are. I mean, if you go to Amazon, there are omnibuses out there. You can get the back issues. They're still decent price back issues. There are trade paperbacks that each story, that run comprises of. There's plenty of ways. I got them here. There's plenty of ways for you to enjoy that run of Daredevil, but it's a really good run of Daredevil. If you like the show and don't read comics, I think you'll appreciate the show better once you're done with this one. So, all right.
Rational. No, Williams definitely would not go for this. It's like for what you and it's not like porn or anything, guys, but it's I foresee like a copyright strike or something in our future if I shared what you just shared.
Yeah, I don't need it. I've gone all this time without a strike.
Did he share it with you too?
He may have. Hold on.
Yeah. I mean, it pertains to stuff we talk about on here on the show.
Does he even have? Rational, you have my DM.
Yeah.
He might have figured it was an absolute no for me, but
yeah, it's like no. I figured once I saw it, it's like no, there's no way Wayne's gonna go for this, and again, it's not like porn.
I don't. Yeah, you didn't send it to me.
Oh, you want me to shoot to you? I'll shoot.
Sure.
Oh, now it's video with 2 men. Come on, Rational. Come on. No, there's no way. There's no way we can share this.
While he's doing that, don't forget if you want your own 2.5 hour spot, I got 3 of them left. You can contribute right there. Are you sending this to me?
Yeah. There's like a video of this too. Just a second here. Let me shoot over. There we go. Yeah, here we go, man. Just sent it to you. And I know I don't even have to. I know you're gonna say no. I would say no.
Hold on, let me see this. Oh fuck no.
Yeah.
Fuck no. Sorry. Fuck no. Not in the video. Absolutely not.
And for God's sake, it's got a watermark on it, man. Why would you think
that's not just a copyright strike? That's bad enough. When it comes to doing things like that, when I'm partnered with studios and promoting movies, the copyright strike to me would suck, but damaging those partnerships that have been very beneficial to the center would be devastating.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's spreading like wildfire. It's like we can't.
Yeah, it doesn't. If I spread it, if everybody else spreads it, that's great. They don't have partnerships with some of these companies. So yeah, and plus I wouldn't do it anyway. But
there's a watermark on the scene. You said, I mean, it's like when I get sent screeners for stuff, it's like it's got a watermark on it, and they put that there for a reason because it's like, okay, if this leaks, we know where it came from.
No, sorry, Rational. There's absolutely no way. No way. For a lot of reasons, not the copyright strike. The fact I don't believe in spreading that stuff.
Do you want to tell them what it is in the audience?
You can go ahead.
It's from Avengers Doomsday. It's apparently there's like the leaked images and stuff like that, and it's like, I mean, for me, it's like the movie's coming out in like 6 months, whatever it is. It's like, and it's not like we know like what's on that image. We know, who's in the movie, so it's like it's not like okay, they're there.
I'm not a fan of spreading this stuff. I mean, I am. And for so many reasons. Obviously, I've given you my personal reasons why I could never do it, even if I wanted to. I just wouldn't do it. I always use the word perception when it comes to anything. Perception is the most powerful weapon you have. It's the most powerful tool you have, no matter what you're doing. When you have people putting out unfinished stuff and rough stuff and things with gaps in it and things that are not meant for the audience to see, the general audience to see, you take the control away from the person, the artist who is making that content and you put it in the hands of people who have nothing to do with it. And when people see that, that becomes, unfortunately, and I don't think this is right, that becomes the perception of your product. So you spent all this money, all this time, all this work, trying to create a finished product that you want to present to the audience, and you got people putting all this stuff out here, and all your work, I mean, all the money you're going to spend to promote this, you're at the mercy now of somebody who decided to do that. And I think that I'm always, when it comes to link stuff, I always avoid it, because at the end of the process, I'm going to pay to see what that producer, director, screenwriter, actor, actress meant for me to see, not some butchered shit with a time or a watermark on it, or something that's torn up, or that it hasn't been through the proper effects. You're spreading things out that hasn't been done yet, and people are like, "Oh, that looks like shit." Well, you're looking at some shit you're not supposed to see. So yeah, I have a lot of reasons why I never really partake in any of that. But personally, for my own selfish reasons, I don't want to damage the relationships that I've spent 16 years building with certain studios by putting their product out there in that light. And B, I just don't believe that. I think it's bad spirited to do that. We already have a problem now with people pre-shitting on movies before they're even done being made, and now you do this, people do this. So now I will always take the high ground when it comes to that.
And that is a hard no, Rational. Unfortunately, there's a hard no for showing it on here.
All right, guys. Thank you for the super chat to tell me. You didn't have to do that. I mean, thank you for the super chat. You could have just told me.
Surprised he didn't DM you like at the same time he did me.
Yeah, well, because he you have to know Rational at this point.
Yeah, come on. Would you think that I was gonna like smooth talk William into doing that? No, man.
There are just certain things that I will never do. Yeah, there's already leaks for the movie. So, all right, guys, I think that is where we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. It's midnight, and I have officially done. We got a late start, but we got everything, and I don't believe that I think I got everything. Yep, I got everything on my thumbnail. We are scheduled to be on the air tomorrow, but I don't know. I'm actually held up pretty well. My allergy has been ripping my nostrils out, but I don't know how I'll feel tomorrow. But if I feel good, we'll be on the air at 10:30, and we got last few episodes of Spider Nor next week, and then it depends on who donates. We'll have some extracurricular activities on Saturday leading into this show. So like, subscribe, share, comment. If you're going to leave something in the comments, guys, I don't mind. You do not have to agree with me. Agreement is not a prerequisite for having a good conversation, but make it worth it. Think before you hit send. Are you sending me some emotional bullshit? Are you sending me something that we can actually go back and forth? That's all I ask. That's it. Yeah. We don't have to agree. Just make sure that what you are sending me is worthy of a conversation. That's all. I'm not afraid to have a conversation with you. And that is going to do it for tonight. Everybody have a safe weekend. Happy Father's Day to the fathers that are watching the show. And that if your father is still here with you, wish him Happy Father's Day. If he's not, I still wish you Happy Father's Day, because you know what? He was your father up to a certain point, and he probably shaped your life. So Happy Father's Day to everybody. People who are about to be fathers, all that. So. And if I feel great, I'll see you tomorrow. If not, we'll see you sometime next week. And let's put this StreamYard. Let's see if StreamYard truly has fixed everything. Because so far, everything's worked.
Very trying tonight, StreamYard. As Aaron.
That's not a word. There's not such a word. I will edit. I will get rid of that. I will edit that out. And 20710. Thank you. See you. Bye.